Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this special edition of The African Speaks. Welcome to this special edition of The African Speaks. And now, as always, y'all know that we are focused on the rise of the African, which is a social media Pan African movement where we seek to bring black folk together worldwide. Our focus is those Garvey steps, that legacy approach to life where we're building something to leave something behind, and that is the awareness of the God in you, that African in you, and living in your purpose and with all your gifts and talents being left here as medicine for everyone else around you. I thank you for coming on and watching us tonight. Those who have who tune in and will tune in and are tuning in to this the set. Again, we always have multiple different shows, must see live streams. All right, so we are in the process of continuing to create more and more shows. So if you happen to be watching us on Facebook, we're going to ask you to like, comment, and share. This is how we get around to allow people to know what we're talking about and what we as a community are doing. If you are watching us via YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell. Today we are discussing, it's an introduction to a new show. You see how many shows we already do. So there's a new show that we're building. Let me see if I can get that dropped in here for you. Scroll down to the bottom so I can get it. There we go, right here. Yes, we are working on something called All Black Everything. Now, we always talk about the rise of the African, and we know that in order for us to be a people and truly kingdom build, we have to do that collaborations. We have to break down walls of differences and realize that we have common issues as a people, and we need to work together. So there are topics that we can talk about that will bring us together. So all black everything is deeply important. We have Sister Adrian Roberts and Pastor Carl Mayberry here on the studio. So we're going to ask you as we bring them in, y'all give them your ears, your minds, your hearts. If you would like to send a comment, please go to I'm gonna try to connect the YouTube page because I can't do it till we go live. YouTube don't allow you to preset it. You have to go live first and then you connect it. So in a few minutes after I bring them in, I'll be working on that connection. If you're watching us via Facebook, go to The African Speaks and we will be able to pipe in the comments from those pages. And so without further ado, let us bring on the individuals. Wait. Let me get rid of that. Get that out your face. I didn't mean to put that in your face. Brother, you trying to hide me? No, I'm not trying to hide you. I'm not trying to hide nobody. I'm trying to, let me get this right. Because where's this at? I be moving fast and I have all these stuff. Wait. My fault. My bad, my fault. I'm trying to get it. Sorry for you. There we go. There we go. Okay, look at that. How's it going? How's it going? Sister Adrian, Pastor Carl, how y'all doing this evening?
Doing good, doing great.
I'm good.
Now, the concept of all black everything, where did that come? I truly appreciate you coming to the African, asking and for the support to make that happen. This is just the introduction, and we're still building the stage and everything else for it. We even got new equipment and everything for this. Oh, where did the concept come out of?
So Mayberry and I have known each other for about 20 years now, and we have always had spirited conversations about just about everything. And our dialogue is just it's different. So we've always said we wanted to do something like this where we could share our thoughts and our opinions about things. We don't always see eye to eye on everything. A lot of times we're just kind of going back and forth with each other about, whatever's going on. Entertainment, politics, spirituality, mental health, whatever. So we were like, we need to take this live. We need to put this on the road. So this was just the most convenient platform for right now for us to be able to do that, bring people into our conversations, into our friendship, and how we discuss things. So yeah, it's like this is it. This is the time. So that's how it was birthed.
Pastor, can you speak on the level of conversations y'all share, and what also inspired you to sit down and say, yeah, we need other people to hear this?
Well, it's a pretty honest level, which is why I think we enjoy it so much. We are passionate, emotional, critical, not always fact. Definitely give our opinions about things, which I think helps us. Kind of iron sharpens iron. What what I thought about is that Adrian is just somebody that, like she said, we don't sky eye on everything, but we debate uh, vigorously, and it helps me and helps my point of view. I can always bring up something and go like, all right, well, what do you think about this? And then absolutely disagree with her, but still feel like I got a better understanding about what we were discussing and the topic, because she brings a unique perspective, and sometimes she changes my mind. So I just think it's a great platform to sit down and just have these conversations. I also don't think that enough black men are in places where they're engaging the masses or even sharing their points of view that is not necessarily filtered through a certain things. It just it's very raw. So, and I think my perspective is a little unique.
Okay, and let's share with the what was the most so far, the most memorable. You said vigorous debate. Was there one that y'all had that you was like, wow, like you said, it changed my way of thinking? What was the most vigorous debate that you could remember? Do you remember the topic or anything that
Um,
hits?
I know we've had some pretty good ones about mental health uh, and black men and mental health particularly, um, and how I feel like black men are seen or not seen.
Mm.
Uh, so that was a pretty interesting conversation, I think, because Adrian, she agreed, but also she was like, "Yeah, but what about black women?"
It's always that conversation of, and I know when I started doing this, my daughter tapped me on the shoulder and said, Dad, you have to have conversations and topics that focus on the development and the healing of black women. And it took me sitting down with my daughter before I realized how much I didn't know about our own sisters. And that touched me. And I said, you know what? I guess you're right. I guess you're right. Adrian, when he made the statement of black men not having that platform, that point of view of a black man, how does that sit with you? Do you see that as being
I
true?
Yeah, I agree with that in the perspective that we're not always black men are not always given the most positive light and the most positive platform to be able to speak on things that are relevant to them and what they're dealing with in their everyday lives without it being looked at as they're weak or something is wrong. It needs to be a platform where black men can come and be honest about the things that they deal with. I think that a lot of times we don't, as black women and as a society, we don't realize that black men struggle as well, and we kind of take it for granted, that they have real issues and it shouldn't be overlooked, and it shouldn't be. I think it's becoming more prevalent and more relevant in the society these days with a lot that's going on, mainstream, that we're seeing that black men do still have a lot of issues that need to be addressed and still need to be spoken about and given a platform to be seen. So yeah, I agree with him in that aspect, but I'm always going to go back to the black woman as well, because that's all I know. And I don't ever want to feel like we're being overlooked. Yes, you have your issues, but we have issues too, and you can't dim our light. We got to shine as well. So
And in that space where we talk about how black women have their issues, black men have their issues, and then here we're talking about the rise of the African, that coalition. How well do you feel that coalition, or how much do you feel like that coalition is needed between, and then the type of black man, and that also makes it the type of black man and black woman coming together to talk, because we all have something to say, but sometimes a lot of us are talking and we really not saying nothing. So how important is the
Mhm.
coalition of black man and woman? Either one. Pastor
Okay, so
Mayberry.
I think I consider it to be critical, but I agree that everybody ain't saying something worth listening to. And when you start talking about building coalitions, coalitions are for the purpose of power and influence, infrastructure. They're actually there to get things done. But I think because we live in and I'll be the first to admit, we live in a society or in a culture, in a world where everybody's opinion is at the same level. The guy on Twitter has just as much of a valid opinion as your medical doctor. We got to reassess that. I'm like, no, the person who actually knows what they're talking about knows what they're talking about, and we should probably give that person more credence when we're talking about the ideas of building coalitions and bringing in conversations. Because for me, I think where we fall short is we definitely punish people's behavior and we don't deal with who they are. You know, so like I go to counseling or therapy. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, but off and on for longer than that. Uh, and one of the things that I had to address before I could address other stuff that was external, I had to address the way I talked to myself and the way I saw myself and the way I saw myself in this world before I could actually have a healthy conversation with somebody else that wasn't filtered through all my mess. And so if we're saying, let's bring people to the table that can that can articulate that can talk about places of healing, talk about what it looks like, can talk about that in a place where it's like, I'm not asking you to be perfect and I'm not going to punish you for what you've done, but we do need you to reconcile yourself to who you are and who you're created to be. Yeah, I'm all for a bunch of complaints. Like I'm good on that. And I feel like a lot of times people, it doesn't take a whole lot for you to identify the problem.
Mm.
The challenge and the struggle comes in when you're trying to actually solve the problem. And so I'm interested in bringing those people in who are trying to solve it. I'm not interested in people who are trying to perpetuate and further it. Let me know that, oh, black fathers ain't at home and the black family, yeah, yeah, whatever. Talk to me about how we're gonna fix this and what's gonna move that so the next generation isn't experiencing divorce or isn't experiencing baby daddy or whatever that case may be. Let's put things in place to where that becomes actually solved, where there's an infrastructure there, where there's support there. And I'm not talking about welfare, but like legitimate support that brings about these healthy individuals. So I'm all for that conversation.
So he's talking about solutions, power, influence, and infrastructure. How much can Adrian? How much do you feel that this all black everything can start deal with those issues in terms of having the conversation of power, influence, and infrastructure from two
I
perspectives,
believe this is a
Venus and Mars.
Yeah. So there is a platform for that, but I also think that we have to be willing to hear what everyone has to say, not just an expert in the situation or not even someone that just is coming with solutions, because you can't say that you can't learn something from someone who doesn't have a solution. I think those conversations need to be had from someone who has a solution, but someone who's actually in the situation and hear what they say. You have to understand where they are to be able to give them the solution to what's next. So it's just saying we aren't going to hear from someone who's just talking to just be talking. You don't. I don't really agree with that. Maybe I'm not feeling that.
Now,
Well,
now
well,
You
look,
know,
I,
okay.
I
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm out.
no,
That's
I
all.
get what you're saying when you're saying we need to be able to hear. Right. I'm not saying that everybody don't need to be in the room for some of these conversations. Right. And what I mean by that is sometimes you're just not at a place where you're able to have these conversations. You just can't. So like me and my mother, we used to talk about this was years ago. We were talking about activism and being involved in politics, and she do that without getting angry and emotional, and I want to throw something. She's like, I can't do that. That's not my. I can't operate like that. She knows herself enough to know that certain rooms she's not going to be able to be in because they're going to see a side of her that she doesn't want to show. That's what I'm saying in that respect when I go like everybody shouldn't be in the room. But yeah, you get.
Okay.
But also at the same time, if all you got is complaints, this ain't the room for you. That's what I'm saying.
And I have and I'll add something to this in reference to we live in a highly technological world where everybody has a voice via social media. Now, this has been in the time in which we live in. We live in a time where we have more access to information and each other more than anything else. And when you look at how we're using social media, we speak a lot about nothing, more about nothing than the statement of power, infrastructure, and influence. And then again, a positive influence when you're dealing with the issue of power, which is the issue of change. And so a lot of people who do have these voices, because it's easy to click grab your phone, click go live. You can YouTube, you can TikTok, you can nay all you want to, but then people are not saying anything. So in those conversations, you're saying bringing people to the table. The majority of us are online. The majority of us are talking, but the majority of us are not saying anything that we can build power, infrastructure, or even influence our daily struggles. So I don't think me personally, I say yeah, everybody, everybody can come in the room, but yeah, everybody can't speak, and we're proving that as a people, given the fact that if there is if you're off on your own, click go live. The majority of the go live is really feeding nothing to us. And so that I think that's even a conversation of all black everything to discuss. How do we truly use technology? And does it help those three things? Power, influence, and infrastructure. You know?
Well, I do think I do think escapism. I think that's it's. I think that's where we are. That people are so unhappy with whatever life they got going on, whether they admit that or not, or they're looking for. There's a hyper individualistic element there where I'm just going to do me to the 10th power. That they are reaching for, or trying to escape from, or reach for a better life. And I think that doesn't translate into things that I'm talking about, like infrastructure or power or collaboration, because that just sounds like more work. So I'm trying to escape work. I'm trying to have fun. I'm trying to not have to think about my
Mm.
life. Not trying to. And so that I think's become the thing that social media has done for us, or the internet. Like you're right, we have all this information at our fingertips, but all the things that we research typically are just the things we like. Let,
Adrian, do
let
you
me
do
just
you?
stay in my bubble or create that bubble.
So Adrian, do you see that escapism seems to be the higher fruit on the tree that people are reaching for, or the lower end fruit?
I I think that the way we're talking about using social media, yeah, people aren't really using it in that way. I think they are using it, as a recreational tool, or just for whatever, for entertainment. It's not being used in that way. Yes, we have the platform now where we can change how people look at how we use social media. And I think that that's what we should be doing in this day and age. And I think it's just a matter of, giving people the information and showing people there's a better way. There's another way that we can be using this tool that we've been given, that was probably given to us as a distraction, as something to take us away from books or knowledge or learning or school or anything. I use social media all day long, and you're right, a lot of stuff that I see on there, it doesn't edify me in any kind of way. It's strictly for entertainment. But yes, by having this platform and being able to you know use the stage, and we should be using it in a way that we're able to give information and edify people and build people up, build up our community, build up our black men and our black women. So I agree with that. I'm with that.
And I have
I,
no problems for entertainment either, but everything has its place.
right.
Okay, okay. Now, what type of topics do you, or how would you want to see all black everything manifest itself as a
For
show?
me, All Black Everything is just going to discuss everything that's happening within the diaspora across the world. So, entertainment, politics, mental health, relationships, whatever we can bring to the table and discuss. We'll have guests come in if we need to. Different opinions, not just ours. Just like Mayberry said, we can have experts come in, but at the end of the day, we want to be able to provide solutions to help our community advance and be better, um, moving us towards growth and expansion. Mayberry, help me out.
Man,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, Mayberry, do
Not,
you see that
I think
the average person could actually bring something to the table? Could the average Joe sit down and say, "Hey, let me drop a little pearl here, and help us out with this all black everything"?
absolutely, absolutely. I'm not saying we only need experts, but I am saying you need to. I am saying I'm interested in talking to the people who have ideas and solutions. Um, and so, yeah, I'm open to hearing any. I think people have plenty of things. I don't think we're being conditioned to think about solving problems. I think we're being conditioned to think about who's going.
Ideas and solutions. Ideas and solutions. Have there within each one of you? Do y'all live in the same area of Atlanta or no?
No, we don't.
Okay.
No,
Have there
I live
that?
outside of Atlanta.
Oh, okay. So has there been ideas and solutions? Has there been a solution or program or any programs within inside your own personal communities that you've seen that said, yeah, this is right here. This is what I'm talking about. Is anybody that you could any program that you could particularly shout out? I know for me,
In the
yeah,
community,
What I
yeah, within the community, anything, because he said, being able to just have that voice, and so black folk are out there speaking. So, is there anything that you could sit down and say just to give a shout out to? Because we're talking about collaborations. You know what I mean? We talking about alliances. We talking about black folk coming together. We talking about dialogue. Um, is there an experience that you have within the community where you can see this is happening, and you wanna also play your part in having that happen? Because I can raise
I
my
can't
hand.
remember the name of this place,
Okay.
but
What was the
it's
experience?
over. Well, it was a school. It's a Muslim school, and they started doing urban gardening. And at the school, and how to basically kind of farm on a small scale, and they were able to become sustainable to where they were providing groceries, vegetables, whatever, for parts of the neighborhood and in the community. And it's in some of those vegetables go to the mosque has like a local restaurant connected to it. It goes to that mosque. And so that was really impressive. Something I was able to connect with and help out. And the lady there, I met her at the YMCA, and we started talking about gardening. She was just kind of giving me the rundown, and she was an elder woman, and she was like, "Yeah, it's important that you learn." And there's a lot of lessons in that. Teaching kids how to have delayed gratification and being able to see something come up out of the ground that it was remarkable. So it's Muhammad something.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
might not
I
be
I
right.
know, and I know they
It
have a
is.
big. Muhammad has a
You know what I'm talking
big
about?
farm. This and yes, that particular group or that program, with the corporate plantation I was on before this one I'm on now. We would have. I'm sorry. They would have. They would come out to our job site and set up a whole market. And when I'm trying to tell you, we had a staff a building maybe like 250 300 people, and everybody would grocery shop in that one day. They would bring out enough food for everybody to go grocery shopping, and you would see bags and bags of groceries. And then they have it set up within the community. Again, when we're talking about power, infrastructure, and influence, they had cards where they would give out to individuals. So if you're at home and you want organic food from Muhammad Farms, they will deliver it to your house. I had the card around the house somewhere, and I was going to use them, but that was definitely a good example. And we're going and remember that conversation. We're going to remember urban garden because we're going to come back to that a little bit later. Adrian, is there a program within
Okay.
your life experience that you sat down and said this is they're feeding back? They're part of power, influence, and infrastructure that you want to give a shout out to, or that's something that you remember.
no. There's not.
Wow. And that's
There's
big.
not.
That's
There's
big.
not. There's
That's
not
big.
anything.
That's a lot to say that I hadn't seen
Well,
anything.
I
And
have
that's
to be
honest.
honest. I don't.
That's honest.
Yeah.
I don't see anything. I really don't. Not in my community. Not that I've been made aware of. I don't. I don't see anything with that's helping the Black community right now. That's providing what you call it, infrastructure. Nothing.
And
Nothing.
right,
I don't.
infrastructure is key.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's it kind of goes back to because we as a people have lost our sense of collaboration and community, and
Mm,
I really feel like that's why we have so much why I don't see it. You don't you Where I live, I don't feel like I'm a part of a community, and I can't ever say that I've ever been outside of the church.
hmm.
But even in the church, it felt like it was just the church. It wasn't, my church wasn't doing, I used to stay on leadership because we were not doing, I felt like we weren't doing enough in the community. You can have a church on every single corner in the city, and each church has their own individual vision that they're doing for that house, but not too many churches are doing anything for that community. You can have a huge mega church in a community, and the houses around the church are dilapidated. There's nothing there. There are people that are hungry. There are kids that are going to school every day that don't have, proper shoes, don't have what they need. And I feel like the church, that's the church's responsibility. If you're in that community, you should be serving that community in some way, shape, or form. Somehow the community should know that this church is here for us, and we can go to this church. The food, yeah, they do food banks. And I saw that a lot during COVID. There's a church right around the corner that does do. They give out food every week or every other week. I don't know, but I I still feel like it's their members that are coming to get the food, and it's not necessarily for the community. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we're going. I'm sorry. The African is about to switch some gears because we you just sparked some conversation right here. So let's get ready to go, Pastor. Um, in my community, there's something that we say we have a slogan. There's nothing more sacred than the liberation of black people. There's nothing more sacred than that. There's nothing more sacred than the collaboration. There's nothing more sacred than infrastructure. There's nothing more sacred than us coming together as a whole. So when she was talking, she was speaking on Pan Africanism, being able to sit down and say, like she said, we have churches on every corner, but there is no coalition. That the psychological condition of black people is embedded so well that even when we own our own institutions, we can't get our institutions to talk with each other, to work with each other. And that's a psychological conditioning, even in the level of the church, right? And so, and even my community is no different. We deal with the issue of what was the thing, how they label it, regional flavor, because we're in multiple states. And so well, we don't want regional flavor. We want a one identity as a group so that, one doesn't shine more than the other. But then I'm always saying sometimes you need regional flavor so that the gifts from one state can measure up with the gifts from another location. Now the conversation is what is real kingdom building? Because like you said, we got churches everywhere, but nobody's kingdom building. And so what would be your definition? I'm gonna ask both of y'all. I'm off the reservation. I'm sorry, she sparked something. What is kingdom building to both of y'all? What would that be considered?
I think I don't know if I can give a definition as much as I can probably just kind of expound upon that idea.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing you have to really address and challenge people, particularly in the American church, vision is a kingdom vision versus how much your vision. And I think a lot of times when you engage churches, because I've done it on different levels, is that they are pursuing the American dream more so than they're pursuing
Woo!
the actual kingdom vision. And I
Woo!
don't
You just said something.
think they're doing, I really don't. I really don't. I think a lot of it is just the way in which we see ourselves. So I bet if I talk to maybe 7 out of 10 pastors or something, all of their visions are going to be grand. All of them are going to require a huge following, and all of them somehow factor in having a lot of money. So, but none of them actually talk about connecting with other places in the community. Or my vision is to partner with other churches. It's like if all these past idea that our church is going to be the next big, whatever, and we're going to reach the masses and we're going to, then, that's more in line with an American dream model as opposed to actually doing the work of kingdom work in community or in society for that matter. And so a good way for me to figure that out is I just kind of pay attention to where the money's getting spent.
Mm.
If the majority of your budget is for upkeep of the building, if it's for salaries, whatever the case may be, then no, your vision is not aligned with kingdom.
Hmm.
And I know that might be hard to hear, but it's just not.
Wait. Well, I
Hmm.
gotta
Get
hold on
my
before.
church out serving it.
Let me. This the brother just said. Church is a American dream surfing versus kingdom building. He said, you gotta follow the money. Where's the money? Which is
Yeah.
serious. And my boy Kalonji's talking. Me and my boy, we always talk about that process. Adrian, what would you seem to say in your perspective is kingdom building?
Kingdom building for me is just about, and like Mayberry said, in a lot of these churches, you don't have programs that are aimed at building the community. It's all about what we can do within this congregation. And even, I don't want to go too far, but even in that congregation, it's not so much about helping that congregation as it is about filling someone else's pockets. I,
Say it. It's all black everything because you can find
I
yourself in certain areas where people are talking and they're saying that of course, you know that the church is a hustle as well. The church has been a hustle for I don't know how many years. Y'all watch Saffron and Son and y'all seen the brother. I don't know y'all seen the
the
brother.
the church been a hustle since Acts. People were trying to hustle since Acts, since the
Well,
book of Acts. That's not new. I think that's the right human. And I think you're right. I think you can definitely pay it to say like, hey, I remember being at this one conference and this guy just said, I'm tired of standing and working for somebody else's vision. Like, why is my vision not
I've,
collaborative to the place that I'm serving at? Like, how does that not? How come God hasn't called me to something and called you to something? We can't come together and make something happen. Why
and
is
that's which is another question. So then how both of you do
it
because
backseat to your vision?
both of y'all sound like y'all
let
talking
me let
about
me
Pan
just say this real
Africanism.
quick.
Go
Let
ahead.
me let me just say this real quick. A couple of weeks ago, I was driving down in somewhere else, and I drove past a church, and the church was just run down. It was a Sunday. They were just coming out of church. Church was run down. There was only a couple of cars in the parking lot, but there was a pastor space, and in the pastor space in this rundown church, there was a Bentley, and it bothered me. It really bothered me, and I'm like, how can y'all stand as a congregation? As a member of this church, y'all are standing around this man in his car, and y'all's church looks like this, and y'all's cars look like, and he's in a Bentley. The sign on the church was like a poster. It wasn't a sign it was a poster with the pastor's picture was huge on it. And I'm just like, is this right?
That
Are y'all? Is this really happening?
that sounds like marketing.
That's it. It does sound like marketing. It does sound like bad
It
marketing.
bothered me.
And that's understandable. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have these communities where, and this is why, again, all black everything, these conversations and collaborations are deeply important and trying to create vision for individuals. And so for me, personally, and I tell anybody, if you're not building toward the liberation of black people, then you're not kingdom building. If you're not building toward self-determination, then you're not kingdom building. If you're only giving people a piece of fish, but you're not creating a fishing rod for the community to exist outside of any other circumstance, then you're not kingdom building. And that's what for me in terms of influence. And that's why I can understand what you're saying. I drive down the street and I look around and I see that it just ain't going on. I know for me and the African Speaks and everything that I do with World of Akiba and with my programs, it's all about I need to make sure that when I'm gone, this continues without me and it aids to the development of the unification of black people. And so how important is that toward the unification is core to power, infrastructure, and influence. I'm gonna keep going to that passage because that was three good words that you left us: power, infrastructure, and influence. Um, Now you mentioned something about urban gardening, and I know this was something that Adrian was hitting hard on, and so we might as well go there. And excuse me for what I do, but anytime the spirit hit me, I got to ride with it, and I appreciate the conversation, the kingdom building conversation, and in that urban gardening, and I'm gonna try to pull the two in. You made a statement about what Joe Biden said. What did Joe Biden say when we were off air? That Joe Biden said that made hit you to your core.
Joe Biden said that we are headed towards a food shortage, that we are definitely headed toward a food shortage.
Now in
That's
that,
what he said. That's
and
what
now
Joe
yeah,
Biden
right.
said.
Now in that scenario, why did that rub you wrong? Why
It
would
didn't rub me wrong. It didn't rub me wrong. It's just the fact that we know that the government is saying that this is what's coming, and we're being distracted by so many other things that we're not doing what we need to do, what's necessary for us to be able to sustain in this shortage that he has told us is coming. You know, and as far as I can tell, it wasn't mainstream news. I haven't heard it. I kind of picked up on it somewhere, and I've just been following up. It's in the Wall Street Journal and stuff like that. So it's out there, but it's not being communicated in ways that our people are going to be able to see it and to receive it. And so, what can we do, knowing that this is coming? What can we do to prepare for it?
Pastor? You got any words for that one?
He does.
Yeah, learn how to garden. Learn how to garden if you don't already. I think this is one of those times where you recognize you have to expand your skill set or learn something new, so you can survive and thrive when times get tough. And a lot of our grocery shopping is something that we do just out of convenience. It's not like we can't do these things ourselves or don't have the ability to do them ourselves. And when we're talking about collaboration, this is where you collaborate. If there is someone who can't do this, but you know that people on your block can share.
Mm.
It's not even like a mind blowing concept. Just share.
It's definitely
Pool
not a
your
mind blowing
resources.
concept. It's not a mind blowing concept. It's just the fact that we as Black people are not conditioned to think community. So, what do we do in the next 4 to 5 months to be able to say, hey guys, this is what's coming? We need to start banding together, and this is how we're going to do it. Because I don't have any
I
yard
disagree.
space. I live in an apartment. Where am I supposed to put a garden?
We
And
can
that's
find a
and
place.
wait,
Huh?
But
wait, wait.
I was going to say that what I do want to say is real quick. I do think Black people are communal. I think the way in which
Ooh.
our energy is directed is like you can't if you look at any genre, R&B, hip hop, whatever the case, jazz, whatever, uh, any dance that comes out, and now you're referencing like old tribal stuff. That junk looks very similar. Like there is something in us that draws us. Even the worship that happens amongst Black folk is we gonna join in. We gonna find a way to be in that. So I think that is in us. I think
It's
that it's
innately in us,
just
yes.
Right,
I
right.
yeah, but I
Okay.
think I think we're distracted and we're and as you said, like conditioned. I think we're conditioned to feel like we can't do this like we can be communal in all these other spaces. Nobody has a problem with that. But if you're communal about your money, about your business, then it's problematic. Uh, and so you're conditioned not to think that way. You're conditioned to be kind of individualized in those spaces, even your education. I think so, but I do think if you start going like, hey, we're gonna pool our resources and we're not gonna struggle no more, you'll probably attract more. Of course, there'll be some detractors, but I think some people will be like, let's do it. When like I said, I was working for the other nonprofit and we said we're gonna plant a garden. I was surprised because I thought we're gonna be the only ones out here in this garden and it's hot. It's Georgia in the summer, and I'll be first to tell you, I've loved every bit of air conditioning. I was born in the right time. I would not have made it. And but to see those kids come out there in the heat and pull weeds, I'm like, oh, y'all were they naturally were drawn to doing something. And if they saw their friends doing it, they were more into it. And then when it actually produced fruit, you couldn't tell them nothing.
Yeah, I
So
want to.
let me ask you
Yeah.
this. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to
No, I
add
just
that.
wanted.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, sister. Go ahead, Queen.
So, do you think it would take an act of natural disaster to pull us there, or are we just
Mm.
because if there's nothing going on, if there's no reason for it, do you see that Black people will come together and say, "Hey, let's pull our resources together to help each other"? If there's no real need
Yeah,
for it,
I think we're already at real need. I think gas prices are high, food is high.
I think we know that
I
we're at
think
real need,
I think
but do you
everybody
think the
recognizes
community
that. I just
as
think we don't have. I don't think
go
we
ahead,
have uh, people who are saying, "All right, guys, this is the issue. Here's the solution. Let's try this." And I also
who are
think
the
that
people to say
sometimes
that?
I well, if not us, then who? If not
Who? If
now,
I'm
then
just
when?
asking. I was just
now,
asking.
and that's and see, it's hard for the African to be in here because my community is so huge and we do so much, but so few know, and so I got to go back to the word that he dropped, and he said communal living. Now and I was on a talk show before with another brother from my community. He said, we're very rare people because we know what it feels like to be communal. We've been in an environment in the city of Atlanta and Houston, Detroit, and South Carolina where we have communal communities. Where my mother, when I first joined, my mother was like, "You don't lock your door." I said, "Why not?" Because somebody might in my community might need some milk, and if I got the milk and they need it, they write a note, tell me, "Yeah, look, I needed some milk," so I come and get some milk. She was always shocked that my door was always unlocked. And it was because of the community in which I live. For me to be able to create in what I do is because I come from a communal environment. Now, Saturdays, we do an African history class, an African spirituality class, and we know that God blessed Africa with the Nile. And so we had a plentiful of everything. So it was easy for us to be communal. So it's a natural state of being going generations down. And so you're right. You're correct that being able to, the moment that we have resources or we're able to struggle or share, it's easy for us. When somebody sees something and something's happening, it's a lot easier for us to join in once they see the work being done. But what Adrian was saying, which is as real as all outdoors, does it take a natural disaster for black people to come together to deal with the issue of connecting communally? Because that's the answer to everything. Us being a one body, one people, Pan Africanism, communalism, and that it, biblically is what you take as you you give as you have need and take as you give as you're able and take as you have need. And so communalism is deeply the key. But like she said, does it take a natural disaster? What would it take for that to happen, Pastor?
I don't think so. I think it just takes us refocusing. Like earlier, she talked, Adrian, you said something about food, like food banks. Churches do food banks, right? All right, let's let's set up some resources where we can garden, right? We if we got the space for a food bank, let's cut off and make that whatever the case may be. But that goes back to just saying, for me, going like instead of us waiting until it's recognizing that it's Joseph. Let's create a situation where there's a drought coming, so let's store up because we know these things are coming. It's being preemptive instead of waiting to the other end to try and find the solution. That's what I think about it.
I have a question that I like to ask both of you. Is systematic oppression a natural disaster?
No, that's man made.
Or is it
It's not anything natural about
natural?
that.
Right? Is it a disaster to black people? How's that? And I appreciate that. Let me take the word natural out. Is it a disaster enough? Like you said, because like you made the statement, does it have to be a natural disaster? And we're talking about food shortages, right? And that's not natural either. That's just the issue of people not working together. So I just used the phrase. But is systematic oppression
Got you.
is systematic oppression a disaster enough to command communalism from black people to survive a food shortage? And if it is or isn't, what would it take for us to see it as a disaster, catastrophic disaster?
Ajay,
Out,
Go ahead.
so
out, out. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. For me, and this
Okay.
goes back to conversations that Jay and I have had. Not enough of us know that we're still oppressed. So if we don't know that we're oppressed, how do we realize that there's a problem? We've gotten so comfortable and complacent in where we are and what we've been given that we don't realize that we are still oppressed.
Pastor, did he freeze?
He was trying to connect to the Wi-Fi. You go ahead.
Okay. And for me, then in that space of being not being oppressed, what would it take for them to open their eyes? If Floyd hasn't done it, if all these social injustices haven't done it, the argument about critical race theory hasn't done it, the abuse that Judge Jackson in her receiving her nomination hadn't done it, what does it? What is the catalyst that will get people to realize? Wait a minute, communalism is the only way out. What do you feel has to happen? I have my opinion now. But I'm asking the question. What do you feel has to happen for that awakening?
I think that people. I think this is what I think about when we talk about systematic oppression and why it's not seen as such a. I think as you said, people don't really realize they're oppressed. I also think people are used to it, and that can change the way you dream or and the way you drive and the way you decide to move forward. Is when you're just used to it. Um, I remember. I remember when I was sick. You remember when I was sick, Adrian? I could whatever.
Yeah,
But when I got and it was physically debilitating. I was limited in the things that I could do. And when I became healthier, I still had to retrain my mind to not walk around like I was sick. Like
Mm.
my body got used to it and it adjusted. And I think that's where we are. It's a challenge. I think that's also why there's a swing into mental and emotional health because you start looking around and realizing um, I'm too good for this. I'm not supposed to be in this situation. And you're also, I think it produces a humility where you can recognize you need help as well. And so I think, I don't know if there's going to be a situation that's big enough um, that will galvanize everybody. But I think instead of waiting for that situation, I think you start saying, hey, you don't have, there's going to be a food shortage. You don't have to be short on food. And I think that's an attractive conversation. We can prepare for this to where you don't struggle.
There was yeah, one of the things that I had a brother tell me one time. He said, if people can see how well communalism works, then it wouldn't be that would be the attractiveness. It doesn't necessarily have to be a disaster. It just has to be a better way of living. And so being able to show somebody this is what communalism can do as a people. Everybody's eating. Everybody's got a roof over their head. Everybody's got clothes on their back. Everybody's got a great education. Everybody's has an opportunity to be in an environment where the gifts and skills get to come out. And so you have to be able to have that one group that makes a decision to say, you know what, we're just going to be what we are meant to be and let everybody else see it. Sometimes it's like I always say, I can show you better than I can tell you.
Hmm.
You know. So now in this space of food shortages, what do y'all think should happen in this space if it happens in the next 3 months or 4 months? What would be a solution?
You better about start buying some rice and beans. But
canned milk and beanie weenies. Cause I
And
don't
look,
have, I can't go hunting and fishing.
look,
I can't do that.
if I get up and
hey,
and, and bring over the packs and through the whole COVID, I've been stacking because I told my daughter, look, We'll have some meat, but what we definitely gonna have is some rice and beans. I got packs of rice and beans. Every time I go to the
Yeah,
store, I'm like, look, let's get a bag of rice. Daddy, we got enough bags. We need some more. We don't know what's gonna happen. Get a bag of rice. Get some. Let's go get some beans.
But that's
Always
the thing
rice
that
and beans.
happened during COVID. People ran out and bought up all the food. The shelves were bare, and us waiting until that happens is not the move. We need
Right.
to be prepared for it
Proactive.
beforehand.
Proactive.
Yeah.
I agree.
Pro.
I think that happened because people were unprepared. And
Right.
so yeah, if we start having there was nothing like my grandmother used to make like jelly preserves and just have them in the house. And so there was never a time where I went
Mm.
at my grandma's house where like we never had to buy jelly when I was with my grandma. It was there.
Wow.
And
Wow.
she wasn't waiting until we ran out. She was just like, I'm gonna go make some of this and store it up because at some point you're gonna want this.
Let
So
me ask you: did your
I
grandmother teach you and your brothers how to do it?
Woo, talk about it, cause
she did.
what? Cause I don't
So
know how
you
to
know
make
how
a
to do
She
jar.
it.
did.
I don't know how to make no
I
See, I
don't.
don't know
conserve
how to make
preserve.
no jar.
I'm not. She did teach us though. I remember sitting in that kitchen. I bet all I really need is her little what's those things called? Little cards, whatever they come out with, the little recipes on it. And I can make it happen. I saw enough of it and I remember enough of it to like I can read the instructions and make it happen. But yeah. But no, she taught us we were kids. We did, but she also had like a garden on the side of the house, whatever. We go out there and we get black eyed peas and she'd sit in front of the TV and we'd be breaking them open and doing all that good stuff too. And she taught me about, tomatoes and grapevines and all these things. And
Wow.
these are, we going to eat these. We going to make wine with those. Yeah. Or
Make wine.
moonshine,
Mhm.
moonshine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Wow.
But,
again, I say
my
I don't
point behind
have a
that is,
yard.
my
So,
point behind that is that, but you can do that. The whole point about urban is not necessarily doing it outside, but there's finding space. You can legitimately take a room and turn that into like a greenhouse
yes,
inside one of your
yes, at
homes,
home.
inside one of
Yes,
your
you can.
bedrooms.
You can. Or
You can actually do
even
that.
that patio, because you have a small back patio. The patio can become a green room. Right. If you enclose it, you can make a green room. That's easy. But I don't know
We
what you're
gonna
gonna
Google
grow in
it.
that.
We gonna.
I don't
I
know what
don't
you're gonna
know
grow in
either.
that little tiny space.
I don't
Right,
know
right.
either.
Like, and one of
On
the
that concrete, on
things,
top of
yeah,
that
right.
concrete, I don't know.
Here's a
But that's the conversation about it not being all on you. Like that's the communal aspect of it. It's
whew,
not
talk
all on
about it.
you to meet all of your needs. It's a shared responsibility. And then you don't feel like I got to figure out how to grow sweet potatoes, collard greens, cabbage, lettuce, carrots. How are we gonna do all that in 3 months? Like, no, you just be responsible for bell peppers, and we'll figure out somebody else can be responsible for something else, and we can make. And I think it can work better that way. But I do think when we think
Yeah.
about it, we think, how am I gonna get all these skills in this short amount of time, and I still got to work, deal with my family, take care of myself, all that good stuff. And I think that's kind of what psychs us out of like I don't we ain't I'm just gonna pay extra.
Mm. Now, and right. Here's a question, because you made the statement of black people being unprepared. Was there a point in time after slavery or any other time where you felt that we were prepared?
We were the most prepared.
When that's what I'm
Whole
saying.
whole industry.
When were we the most prepared? And then go ahead.
I was gonna say agriculturally speaking, in a lot of ways, uh, after slavery, there were whole industries that shut down because white folks didn't know how to farm this land anymore. They're like, we don't know what to do because they were getting free labor, and black folks
Right.
were we done, we good. Yeah, so I mean, was it South Carolina? I think you referenced it earlier. They used to have like rice fields up there,
Hmm.
um, and then once slavery was over, that was it. They couldn't do anything. They didn't know they couldn't do anything with it. So I think we were the most prepared coming out of that, which is why um, there was a need for. When I say this, there's like Jim Crow had to come into play. All these other oppressive things had to come into play because black folk knew how to do stuff. They knew how to
Yeah.
weld. They knew how to
Mm.
farm. They knew how to build. They were doing that, and they brought all that stuff. They didn't learn that in slavery. They brought that stuff with them, and they knew how to do it. And folks were, white folks were just like, well, if we let them keep doing this, they're gonna be better than us. and it's going to be clear. So
Adrian, go ahead and make the state. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, so I mean, that's how the oppressive system came into play post slavery. It was like they noticing people are thriving.
Right. And so now, do you believe, Adrian, that convenience killed preparation for black people?
Absolutely, because everything is convenient. There was no need for us to learn about it anymore. And I think that's where I'm struggling is that yeah, I don't know how to grow a thing. I can't go out and catch a fish. And he was telling me earlier, you should go hunt. What? How do you hunt? Like, I don't need to do that. Why do I need to do that when I could just drive to the grocery store? So, yes, when there is a food shortage, I'm going to be one of the ones that's struggling because I've been so conditioned for the convenience and I've always paid extra for the convenience. Now, if you tell me I got to go out here and start growing stuff, me and Devin gonna starve because I can't grow the plants in my
That's
house.
a big boy.
I can't grow the plants in
Mommy gonna
my
start looking
house.
at it. Mommy, I think you need to
Look,
cut a leg
that
off.
boy, yes, he will figure it out. Now, if somebody got to eat, Devin gonna figure out how to eat. That's gonna
But you
happen.
know what's crazy? Like I remember, and I spent part of my childhood in Colorado. In Colorado, part of the curriculum was learning how to live off the land. They take us to the mountains,
Mm,
and we would like
Wow.
learn how to like
mm.
identify tracks. We learned how to use a bow and arrow, learn how to shoot rifles. This is like sixth grade, and that was like part of the educational experience. Like in case
But
you
I
get
don't know. Is
lost, you can
Colorado
eat.
like
You can.
rural?
It's white. It's country.
It's white
It's a
country
different
and
kind of
rural.
it's a it's yeah it's a different kind of country. That's why it's not the South country. It's like the Western type stuff Colorado is, but I mean people. It's a lot of open space. It's like but you had to learn. That was part of the. If you get lost in a snowstorm, you need to learn how to find your way back. If you get stuck out here on a trail, you need to know what you can eat and what you can't eat. And they were
Mm.
teaching that stuff to us.
Mm.
So in that space, like you're saying, it's saying how convenience did kill preparation, but he's saying he was raised to live without the convenience. And then you even have militias now living in mountains, prepared to live without convenience. So would that need to be the disaster that happens to black people, that the convenience of getting able to get up and go to the grocery store to get some food? Would that
I
be the
believe that if
shocker
the
that will?
convenience is taken away, yeah, if the convenience is taken away, black people will find a way. We will. I do believe that.
Okay.
Um,
Now,
we'll figure it out.
can we now,
We are,
that resilient? Definitely that
yeah.
resilient. Yeah. But do you think how would it again? Could it happen without this? Because this may be around the corner. This it just may be around the corner. I know in my community we did do. We have a community. What happened today? So I go to the church because I'm wiring. This is real talk. And I'm sorry to say that I ain't gonna say the name of the church so I don't get in trouble. But
We appreciate that.
we had so much food they were throwing it was spoiling. We didn't have enough people to give it away to. The farm's food that
Mm-hmm.
we had. And I'm watching a brother with a wheelbarrow, I guess about to turn it into mulch where to give it back to the soil so the soil's rich. I'm like, whoa, that's a wheelbarrow full of food. And he said, yeah, in reference to the people showing up, I guess now that the shelves are stocked, the need is gone, and so even though we're still farming, we're still producing, and we still have the open market, less and less people come out because of the convenience. I mean, because once the convenience comes back, they're gone. So how do we overtake that part of convenience to say this is a necessary skill that we have to learn? Any conversations on that? What can we do in
I
reference
really
to?
don't. I really don't know. I think
Mm.
convenience is the enemy of progress in most instances,
Woo.
and I just don't. I think for some, I don't know. I think there has to be maybe a recalibration of values, like what is valuable, what's important. Um, but I mean, the society that if capitalistic society, money is time.
Yeah.
Mm.
So if you're able to go to the grocery store and just pick up what you need and get out because you know you're going to spend 40 plus hours working, and not even factor into whatever your commute is if you live in Atlanta. If you're not working from home, and if you got a family and you got to do all that stuff and other obligations outside of that stuff, you may be active in church or whatever extracurriculars. You know, the way your value system is set up, that's not a valuable thing to you, and so you got to figure out your values.
Mm,
And I don't know if that's a I think that's an individual conversation and a corporate conversation because we also are teaching people what is valuable. And right now, what's valuable is convenience. That is the valuable thing because it saves you time.
mm. And but time is being more precious than anything else, though. And so, and then
Right.
right, and for us, this is why we always say there's nothing more sacred than the liberation of black people. When you know that if that is the a key focus, and that's like a staple phrase. You can't. There's no church in our community or no family in our community don't know that phrase. Now I can't say that everybody lives by it because you can tell by somebody's actions whether or not they believe in this communal venture. They believe that we need to be a prepared people. You can look at, and that's what we do. You look at actions and can tell. People say, "Brother, how do you do so much?" Easy, because I'm trying to believe in this communal value, this system where we need to be completely self-determined. And if my talent exceeds someone else's, then that means I should be given more. But if you don't, you don't give more. So having that phrase for us is always usually the standard bearer in terms of that. But again, how do you wake people up? Because as you said, the enemy is enemy to progress. Convenience is the enemy to progress, and that talks about the continent of Africa. There's very few progress, and then so now you watching the development. A lot of the technicians or engineers are coming out blazing, because there's nothing there. And so they fight off of what they barely have. I did y'all ever watch the
Hmm.
Netflix show the kid who harnessed the wind? Did you ever
I
see
saw
that?
the trailer. I haven't seen it yet. It's on my
Oh,
list.
you gotta, and that is when you said then, to say convenience is the enemy to progress. When there is no convenience for water, there is no convenience for where you sod or you can't run to the grocery store. When there is no convenience, it creates a opportunity for God to intervene and that intellect, that natural state to intervene. And then also the need for people, communalism kicks in because now I'm in a village. I don't want to just save myself. And that's another thing, like he's saying, it's like you said, I don't have a farm. I don't have nothing. And so it's a natural instinct for black people to, hopefully we'll continue to switch into that communal value. Do you think that there's been too much time between us living as a communal people and us being here on this continent where communalism is getting real faint in our DNA and our makeup?
Um, I think it's still there. I think what sparks it, and this is gonna, for me, is just being around other cultures. You know,
Mm,
when I'm around some of my, Latino or Mexican brothers and sisters, I'm like, oh, y'all still be looking out for each other. Or when I was in college and there was a large Korean population on campus,
hmm
I literally used to think when they would come to lunch, they were like planning out potlucks or picnics. Like, are y'all scheduling? Like, do y'all? I had to ask, like, yeah, how come y'all bring so much food? And their mindset was, oh, we just bring enough for two other people. I was like, so this is not planned. Like, no, we just know to share. And so I think when I see those things, it reminds me of that. So I think some of it, if I were just to simply, be focused on whatever I was focused on, yeah, I think I would lose touch with wanting to connect and wanting to share and wanting to be communal uh, in every aspect, in most aspects of my life. But I also think that other cultures are reminding me that that's a lesson and that's something that's inside the DNA of, I think, a lot of humanity. Uh, but I think our culture tries to stomp that out.
mm. How is it? How did when you Adrian, the issue of communalism and that as a spirit and feeling that, how does it, witnessing it in other cultures, how does that make you feel? Because what we're after, some communities do, and we always talk about it. The Mexicans, it's like it's natural for them. How does that make you feel
Hmm.
watching that happen with them? And like you said, I don't have a garden. I'm worried. It don't matter because I'm telling you because Hamito, he gonna make sure that Mr. Cruz, he eating the way he eating. We all eating today. How does that make you feel?
I ain't never seen a Mexican buy one Corona. I tell you that much. All right.
You know, it worries me. It worries me that, for some reason we've lost that spirit of community. Can
We
you hear
hear
me?
you. Yeah, we hear you. We
Mhm.
was listening.
Okay, we've lost the spirit of community, somewhere, because, like I said, it was innately in us. That's how we were made. We were made to be communal people, and now it's just everybody's about themselves. And you do still see community in the sense of other cultures, and you just don't see it as relevant with the Black community.
Mm. Yeah, I know. I always talk to people when I talk to people. It is harder. Um, Not being able to see it in our community as a whole. And so there's a big dialogue in our community where we're talking, but we always say we're the best kept secret that black people have never seen before. Because with this particular church
Mm.
program that I'm a part of, and the community I'm a part of, when I came from New York and I was looking for me personally, I'm looking for an experience with people like you grew up with. So your ain't no friends like you said. Y'all 20 years deep. Can't nobody. Kids hard to come in between 20 years deep. And he said, for 20 years, we've been talking, we've been kicking it. And so I sat down and said, I need to, if I'm going to be a part of the community, I need somebody to make me feel like I know you since I was born. I know you like I grew up with you. Like if I'm hungry, you feeding me. You know what I'm saying? Or if I got something, let me break off. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, you never seen a Mexican who brought one Corona, and pass me something. Your brother, you thirsty? Yeah, I'm thirsty. When I
Mhm.
may not be. And so it's hard for us and I tell, I said, if I don't reach out and share who we are and what made me me, then you may see that, yeah, there's nothing out there. And I keep telling them we the best kept secret that black people don't even know about. We need to stop playing games with ourselves and the responsibility that we have for communal living, and just share what we have. And I think that's been the fight in the communities that are communal. You know what?
Yeah. Now we're saying we need to wrap it up.
Oh, that's fine. Look. I already told y'all. Look, I already told y'all. And I told you, look, be careful because I'll sit down and go. And my man Kalonji is sitting on it. Me and Kalonji will go. I said, I'm gonna do this with y'all until y'all don't want to talk no more.
Like, I don't know, this had to be about 15, 20 years ago. We were having a conversation one time, and I don't even remember what it was. We were at a camp, and we were talking about something, and he got tired of hearing me, and Mayberry said, "Yeah, I've grown bored with this conversation." So that's our thing. We say that all the time.
I remember saying
That's
that. I've
our
said
way
that
of
a
saying, "All
lot.
right, I've
Like,
had
all right,
enough. It's time to go."
And so as we wind it down, there are three words that Mayberry said: power, influence, and infrastructure. Power, influence, and infrastructure. So if you can give black people something before we leave on power, influence, and infrastructure to give them hope, instead of saying that I don't know how we're going to do it, what do you see that you can give at the end of this to end this to end up on an up note? Who got that one? Or do you see any horizon?
yeah. I
There's
think
Go ahead.
absolutely
we are
horizon
more
because,
powerful.
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Adrian.
Well, just it's what I said before. Black people are the most resilient people on the face of the earth. For us to have overcome everything that we've overcome in history, I don't feel like there's anything that's gonna top what we've already been through. A food shortage, it's nothing. Yeah, I joke and I say, yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna live. We're gonna be okay. There's never any need for hope, because even in COVID, when there was a shortage of toilet paper or food or whatever, there were people in my neighborhood who actually did reach out and made sure that, you know, their neighbors were okay. So black people are resilient. There is always going to be hope for black people. I truly believe if there was an extinction to happen, black people will remain because we are going to figure it out some kind of a way. So yeah.
Pastor, what you got?
I agree. I think that we are more powerful than we realize. I think our strength is in our numbers and in our ability to innovate. And if you don't think black folks can innovate, just look at all the things we've created, all the things we fabricated and improved upon. And I think when it comes to infrastructure, the thing that we can do and that we are starting to do is invest in ourselves and invest in our communities. Build our businesses where we are, bloom where we're planted. And I think that brings about change instead of waiting to, move into the white neighborhood. For a long time, the white standard has been the thing that we deem as excellent. And so we're seeing a rise of black excellence. We're recognizing that we are not that not I'm gonna say not that we have to be at a certain status with other people, but we are good at who we are. And so and we should be encouraged by knowing that we are good at who we are. We are excellent at who we are. We don't have to be in someone else's community to prove how great we are.
And with that
Mm.
being said, this conversation to introduce the concept and the thought of all black everything. We are great at who we are. So sister said, she said we are resilient and we've always been able to make it through whatever hardship that has faced us. And that note, yes, we can have conversations about everything that is black and know that at the end of the conversations, we will have a solution and a way out. And with that, I like to thank y'all for allowing the African to be a vehicle being used to help to make this happen. Next time we see you, I will not be online. I'll be in the background putting it all together, and we'll have
You're welcome to
everything.
come on
We'll have
anytime,
a.
sir.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And with that, y'all have a blessed evening. I'm gonna close this out real quick. All black, everything. That's a Pan African statement, and it's a term where we see ourselves as a unified people. We deal with Afrofuturism. What do black people look like in the future? And so being able to use our imaginations to say, you know what, we need to be a communal people again. We need to build again. We need to not allow convenience to kill our need for preparation. And I say, hey, not only should we prepare for the worst, but can we prepare for the best? Can we make a decision to sit down and say, we are going to prepare for our communities to experience the best of life, not because there's something happening or situations or circumstances around us, but because we know that we are here to be the best that the Creator has called us to be. Period. Communalism, values. We had a lot of gems being dropped this evening. So hopefully, we will get to see you uh, when we are ready to launch the African, sorry, not the African Speaks, but uh, all black everything. And they dialogue where there's no subject matter that is off limits. But in the end, we will understand that those communal values are absolutely needed for us to resolve all the issues that we have as people. And with that being said, let the African in you rise. One love.